Hey guys, welcome. It's Friday. We're here with our man Larry G. He is
The man.
the famous Larry G, who calls in almost every Friday night that we're here. Just want to welcome everybody. Hope everybody had a great Friday day and an awesome week. I'm hoping that everybody's good. I didn't get any phone calls, so I guess everybody's doing fantastic. Everybody, if you have a question for Larry as he shares his story, please add them in the comments. I'll be keeping an eye on them as he shares. And if you want to talk to Larry, please feel free to use the call-in line at 267-737-8031. We are here till 10:30, so everybody be, nice.
Yes, he's
It's
very
a-
sensitive, but please don't use any foul
Definitely
language
sensitive,
or,
yeah.
Yes.
or harsh tones.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a non-judgmental show. And just be mindful that there's people in here in different levels of recovery. There may be some people in here still struggling to get their recovery. So be mindful, be kind, and please don't discuss religion or politics as it is a heated subject. And just add into the comments if you have a question for Larry, if you have a question for me or for Pappy. We're here, we're listening, and we will share our experience, our strength, and our hope that we've gone through the years that we've been dealing with this. So with that, I'm going to let Larry in.
Thank you.
Larry G.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, everybody.
How are you, sir?
First thing, I want to make a disclaimer here. If you see my arms start to flail, it's because I suffer from Italianitis, so I can't.
Please, no humor. It's a very serious show.
Yeah, I know. So, okay, enough.
No
of it.
levity.
Okay, I'm going to start from my first DUI on. I know a lot of people like to start their meetings with the what kind of family they have, where they were raised, and all, but I'm not one to get into the background check because I don't think it. For me, it doesn't serve much of a purpose. A lot of us went down different tunnels, down different holes to get to the bottom. The thing is, we all went to the bottom. So I'm going to start with the night I had my first DUI. Now, I had been drinking heavily for a long, long time. But that night, I got pulled over by the state police, and I knew that it was up for me. I called my wife, and I told her I'm going to get arrested for a DUI. So she came. I was up 195 near the Woodhaven exit. She brought my daughter along so she could drive my car home. And they did the roadside sobriety test, which I failed miserably. And I remember while during the test, I looked over at my wife and my daughter, and I could, to this day, I could still see the tears flowing down my daughter's face. And, that's something I'll live with forever. I don't want to get rid of it. It's just another. Back then, it was a learning experience. Well, for now it is. So they took me off to jail, and I waited to get bailed out. And my wife brought my son, and he had the most disgusted look on his face. He was so angry. I can't blame him. He was a drunken father there. And that's another one. That's two expressions I'll never, ever forget. I'll keep that in my mind as long as I live. But in hindsight, it didn't stop me from drinking. So I got bailed out, and I went to court, and lost my license. And they said, well, you can go to safe driving class, which is like 4 or 5 weekends, or 3 days in jail. So I took the 3 days in jail. Did that, came out, and very tense. My wife picked me up, but the tension was there. Even when I was home, everything was, for me, it felt very uneasy. And I went to Malvern, my first rehab, and I did absolutely nothing there. I went there and I was like, all right, here I am, now what? I went, did all the lectures. I spoke to everybody, and to me, it was like I did nothing. It was like I was watching like the soap opera of who's trying to sneak who in whose room and who's exchanging medications. So I got out of there, and I had to do IOP and all. I had to find rides to work, and it was like I said, it was tense at home. And I felt the tension, and there was no trust, and I don't blame them. Everybody looked at me kind of a crooked eye, and eventually I got my license back, and things were pretty good there for a while. Well, somewhat good. I mean, I stopped drinking for in and around 3 years, we'll say. There's a guesstimate. But I never did any work. I never went to meetings. I never got a spot. I went to a few meetings in the beginning thinking, here I am, Mr. Pink Cloud. I got this now. I'm cured. And I wasn't, because I did nothing about it. And then as time went on, those urges came back. And in the beginning it was okay to fight them back. And, I pretty much had a handle on them. But as most of us, in recovery know that if you don't do the work, and if you're not strong-willed, and I was definitely not strong-willed, you're going to start fighting it. You're going to come up with reasons not to want, to drink and rationalize it. And it started to play on my mind, and if things really, really got bad, it was at the point where I wasn't drinking, but there were days where I was like doing this. I was like white knuckling it, like, oh my God, I can't have a drink today. But, and if I made it through that day, great. But the next day, it was the same thing, only worse. And then, the mind got a little more twisted and start rationalizing why. You can do this. You went all this time without a drink. You could have a drink and you could, let it go for a little while, and then you could do it again. So eventually that crept in my mind and took over, and it did work for a while. And what happened was, I had a drink, a couple months, a couple more drinks. Then as time went on, months turned into weeks, turned into days, and there I was back to square one again. It's a total mess. And eventually I lost my job. My wife threw me out of the house, and I couldn't blame her. I was a total mess. So I went back to my house with my parents, and that kind of curtailed the drinking for a little while. I mean, it didn't stop it, not at all. It didn't stop it, but had to be even sneakier, or thought I was being sneakier. And as time went on, sneak one here, sneak one there. And finally, I got another job, a driving job, which you can't imagine when you're an alcoholic. Picking up working for a dealership, picking up cars in New England, Western Pennsylvania, all the way down to Virginia, Maryland, and everywhere in between. And that kind of kept me cool for a while. I wouldn't drink on the job because it was just too much driving and it was too risky. But it started to creep in again on me. It started to creep in slowly like it did the first time. And it was like, okay, I won't drink while I'm driving, but I'll keep a couple in the car while the car's warming up. I'll drink them. It could be July. It could be 110 degrees out there while the car's warming up. What a joke. And I would drink, and then it got to the point where, it just started to snowball. And then eventually, my father passed on, and I started to drink a little bit more. Because, now I have to worry about my mom. But, moms are moms and kids are kids, and I don't care how old you are. They know what you're doing. They know what's going on. I mean, she would watch me take 5 minutes to park my car. How come it took you 5 minutes to park your car? I was like,
I had something in my eye.
Yeah. I'm looking in the rear view and watching me drink while I was looking in the rear view. And, that went off and on. And then when my mother passed away, then the floodgates really started to open. It was bad. I get home from work and I drink, so I couldn't drink anymore. I'd get up in the morning, go to work, and I wouldn't drink at work, only when I was in the car and the one on the way home. But then that started to creep in too. driving, going up, we'll say, going up near Boston or up in Connecticut or somewhere to pick up a car, stop and get gas and have to get one, sneak one on while I was driving back, which is really, really great thinking there. What if you get busted in Massachusetts, New York, or Connecticut, drinking and driving? But I was too cool for that. I can outslick those people. But it got to the point where I was looking really bad. Everybody knew I was drinking. And people were telling me, like, were you drinking? You need to get help. You're going to lose your job. I'm going, yeah, you're right, and did nothing. And that went on for a while. Even when it wasn't busy, when I wasn't driving, I was working in the dealership. When lunch would come, man, I'd fly out to the nearest package place and grab a couple things to drink. Mostly it was beer or cheap stuff. As long as I had high alcohol, I was drinking it. The flavored stuff, yeah. You could pick turpentine or paint thinner flavor, It was that bad, but I didn't care. The first swallow went down horrible, but the rest, I could manage. And that went on for quite a while. On the weekends, go out driving around, drinking and driving. So one day, I decided to go up to the cemetery to see my parents. This was my last day of drinking. And I went up. Of course, it was early in the morning, and I still had to have a couple with me. So I went up to the cemetery, had a couple, and I decided, it's a nice day. I'm going to go over to Peddler's Village and go look around the shops. So I went over there and, looked in and out of the shops. And I said, maybe I'll go to New Hope, So that's where the final downfall started. I went to a shop, then a bar, then a shop and 2 bars, and then just to any bar I could find there. And it was, me being Mr. Frugal, I wouldn't care what kind of beer it was, as long as it had a high alcohol content, and I can get as much as I can, never bang for my buck. And I go in, I'd say, well, how much alcohol is in that? Oh, that's 12%. I said, oh, that's good, but you only get a glass this big. I said, what about that? That's 8, 9, 10%, but you got a bigger glass. Well, give me that. It's a money saver. And I just drank and drank and drank, and I decided, well, I'm going to go take a ride up the winding roads next to the Delaware River. That's what I used to do, always used to do when I had time to spare, listen to music. And at the point where I would turn around, there was a bar restaurant there. So I went in and had lunch, had a little to eat and a hell of a lot to drink. And on the way home, by Washington's Crossing, there is a package store. I said, well, I'll pick up a couple things and take them home with me. And of course, I had a bar there, and I just couldn't pick up the stuff and go. I had to have a couple more drafts. So I'm flying home on 95, and that's when by Betsy Ross Bridge I got in a horrific accident. I'm lucky I didn't kill anybody. How I didn't kill anybody? Well, the luck was that the person I hit had nobody in the back seat because I smashed that car. I almost accordioned that car. And, the state police came, and I said, well, this is it. I'm going to jail. There's nothing I could do about it. And they didn't take me to jail. They took me right to the hospital, gave me a breathalyzer, gave me a blood test, and dropped me off at my house. And we talk about a rude awakening. You wake up real fast. I don't care how many you had. You did what I did. And I said, your life's ruined. You're done. So I tried the suicide bit. And obviously, that won't work. I screwed that up, too, with the pills and the drinking. And, I couldn't do anything right. I couldn't even kill myself right. And eventually I'm back to work. And my cousin who worked there, he told me, he said, Larry, you have to go away. You need help. Now, I had so many people yell at me, cry at me, beg me to go get help. And it always was, yeah, you're absolutely right. What did I do? Nothing. But this time, I surrendered. Don't ask me why. I didn't know what it was. But I could still remember to this day when he told me that, and I agreed, I could still feel me going, you're right. So a couple days off the living room I went. And, it was basically for a little while there, it was basically the same thing. it was like, okay, here I am again in another rehab. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? But after a couple sessions, the lectures and all, one day it just hit me in the back of the head. Like, oh my God, these people are really helping me. They're trying to help me change my thinking. So when you look, like A wasn't A and B wasn't B, there was always something behind A and behind B. There was that other meaning that all of a sudden, why I never picked it up before? I picked it up then. And that's when things started to roll for the better for me. I listened. I listened to the lectures. I did what I had to do. And one thing was, like, I'm going to show you this thing. It's just scribble. This is a journal. This is every day I was here. I don't know if you can see that. Every day I was here, that I wrote something down about how I felt that day, at the end of the day. And some was like just a couple lines, some were paragraphs, and I started writing like a couple lines to songs that I felt like that day. And the one day it was like, last day, I'm feeling anxious tomorrow. I leave for the recovery house and start this process all over again. And I think that was the last day. I say, as a George Harrison line here, all things must pass away. This is the day I leave. I'm a little nervous, but looking forward for my new journey. And it was a journey. This was the beginning. The rehab and the recovery house was the beginning of me trying to get my life together again. And the recovery house was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because it taught me discipline. But not only that, but it helped me rearrange my thinking. There's stuff you had to do, make your bed, you had chores to do, you had to be out, have to have a job, be out by a certain time, be in by a certain time. And I had IOP there too. After that, it's my second IOP and OP, but they would drive me to that when I got back from work and then bring me back. And we have our meeting or do what we had to do our chores, get up. And I had to get up. I didn't have a car or a license then. I had to get up like 4 o'clock, 3:30 every morning, get the first train. And thank God the train station is only like a mile away. It was around the corner from where I am now. And get that train, go downtown, get the other train to drop me off right at work. And that was going on for quite a long time. And things were good until, I forget who told me, but they said there's a warrant out for you. And I'm saying, oh my God. But I didn't know there was a warrant out at the time because I was in recovery and I was in, the rehab and recovery house. So I got the letter and it said there was a warrant. So I said, okay, I'm going to turn myself in. And one Friday I went, figuring, I turn myself in, I get bailed out and I'll be home. Well, guess what? Didn't turn out that way. I turned myself in. I was in the roundhouse in a city police jail for a night. And boy, what an experience that was. I'm never going back there again. In fact, one of the people working there was a woman who was in living room when I was there. And she said, you're not getting out anytime soon. Said, maybe you should have came on a Tuesday, but on a Friday, all the judges are out and all this other things. And I said, well, this is wonderful. So I spent the night there. Then they cuffed me up, put me in the van, and sent me up State Road up to the prison. And gave me a nice, beautiful designer orange suit to wear, the orange jumpsuit. And, I just wish I had worn the pens then because I was shit my pants. I had no idea. I said, what the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't fit the clientele. And they said, well, you could call somebody and they'll bail you out. I said, good, give me my phone. Oh, no, we can't give you the phone. I said, the phone's over there. I said, but how am I going to get out if I can't phone? I don't know. Then I realized the shirt that I was wearing, thank God, was a Daily Reprieve Recovery House shirt I was wearing with the phone number conveniently on the back.
Wow.
So what luck that was. So I called, and eventually later on I got bailed out. And while I was getting dressed, they gave me like a SEPTA token, a couple dollars, and 2 condoms. And I'm going like, okay, I I can understand that maybe the money or maybe the token, but what's with the condoms? She says, well, when you get out of jail, the first thing these people think about is having a little bit. I said, look, I'm going back to my recovery house. They're nice people, but I don't like them that much, okay? So I went to court, and they told me that I had to move back into the city because that's where my DUI was. So I went back, and I had to go to parole officer, had to go parole once a week, talk to my officer. And over time, it became once a week and once every 2 weeks. So eventually, near the end there, all I had to do was call. But I had to go IOP and OP again. And this was really a lot of fun because I worked up in Jenkintown. So I had to take a bus, a subway, and another bus to get to work. Then the train, the subway, and a bus to get home. And if I had IOP that night, that was at night. So I wouldn't get home till like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And 3:30, I had to get up, take a shower, get the 4:20 bus to do it all over again. That went on and on and on. But I knew this is what I had to do. I didn't get mad because I know what it was, getting mad, getting angry, feeling sorry for myself wasn't going to do it. I had to stay focused on what I had to do. So I just just shut off the brain and just roboted it through. Just do what I had to do. Went to IOP, turned to OP, and eventually, that got over with. And the parole, like I said, it turned from appearing there at 8 o'clock in the morning to calling once every 4 weeks till that got over with. And there was stories in between too. And, people, and the recovery, I want to say to the people out there who are struggling, it doesn't come easy. It comes in the end, but for some of us, it doesn't come easy. Because I met a lot of people who got out of rehab, and a month later, they're back out again. And you talk to these people, it's like you don't go in rehab and think, here, take a recovery pill, and everything's cool. But rehab, to me, it was when I finally picked up what I had to do and knew what I had to do, I just shut off everything else and did what I had to do. And you talk about rewards. It's not it's recovery too. It's doing getting your thinking back, setting your mind straight. Rewiring all the dead brain cells and the wires that are screwed up in your head, and everything starts to get better. Believe me, it does if you just stick to it. And I got the minor rewards like getting my license. I got a car back after a couple of years. I lost my license for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I got a car back, but I have had a breathalyzer in it and a breathalyzer license. Well, that's cool. That's fine with me. It was just another step forward. Eventually, as time went on, a few weeks ago, I got my regular license. The breathalyzer's been long gone out of my car. And that's just the material stuff. But the biggest, most important thing for me was my family, my friends, and people that, were hoping for me, rooting for me, and I let them down every time. And even the first couple of years, people say, hey, you look different and everything's good. But there was always that, how you feeling? Give you that look like, how you feeling? You okay? You all right? And I can't blame him, man. I looked like the hopeless case. There was money, you could lay money that I was going to relapse. You could definitely lay that money down. But as time went on, things got better, the trust got better, and people come back in my life, and especially my 2 kids. They mean more to me than anything. And, when we go out together, especially in the beginning, or I go over one of their houses, and I just go away and talk about my recovery, and I thought I was boring them, but they didn't want to hear what I had to say. They want to see what my story was. And they're very, they're kind of happy. No, they're not kind of happy. They're very happy that, I am where I am today. But it takes time. And, I got a couple things here, but I'll get to them. It's like, one is like drinking. It's like you're living in a limbo between like shadow and death. It's like you're in that in between struggling with that, no matter how you feel, you're struggling with that. You don't know from one day to the next how you're going to feel. But you got to take what life gives you. And I wrote it down here. I got this from an old TV show. It's about a guy who was on alcohol, and his friend, said, life gives you take what life gives you. Sometimes it goes down sweet and savory, and other times it's bitter and hard to swallow. And that's what it is. And that's what I had to learn too. Not every day's a holiday. Not every day's good. You're going to have your bad days, but you can't let it creep into your mind and fester. And that's one of the good things too about going to AA meetings and speaking. You get it out of your head. You get it out for people. You can share it with people, and people understand, because especially ones in recovery, they know what's going on too. They have those feelings, maybe not word for word, but they have those feelings too, and it gives them the courage and to go out and say what they have to say, and it just gets better. And I like what I'm trying to think here. I'm getting all mixed up. And going to the Living Grin, they have an alumni meeting where the patients are on one side and the people who've been in there and recovering are on the other. And, they each get to hear two speakers and share their stories. But the people that are in there get to see the people who were in there, who have recovered, who have time sober, and try to let them understand that they're there to help you. We can't help you. Like another song, we can't save you, but you can save yourself. And just stick out your hand, because there's 100 hands on the other side waiting to go out and waiting to help you. And believe me, I was lucky. I got right out of Living Grin, right to Recover House. So that hand was dragging me before I had even a chance to reach out. And I'm very blessed. I'm very happy about that. And I got another thing here from Living Grin too. This is maybe like a before and after type of thing, where when I first went in there, one of the counselors said, "Why don't you write a letter to yourself stating how you feel, and if you want, we'll mail it to you." So I went in January, and they mailed it in June. That was 2017. So I got this. I was rooting through an old bag I had, and I said, I came across this. I said, well, "What's this?" Here's the letter I wrote over 4 years ago, and I'm looking at it, I'm going well, addressed to me. Then I realized that's horrible. That's my handwriting. I said, then I looked at the address, and I said, oh, that's Living Grin. And I looked at the date, and I thought, oh my God, that's the letter I wrote. So I got up and I read it. I had to rewrite it again, because if I could never read that one again. It was like hieroglyphics. Easier to read that. And this is what I wrote to me. Larry, I fell off the wagon again. Got into a lot of trouble, lost my job. Why do I never learn? I wait till I'm in too deep before I try to correct things, and when I do, they're only temporary. Once the dust is settled, I go back to the same old bad habits again, till I mess up again. I have to find some way to stop this cycle. My way is not going to do it. I must seek outside help and keep working at it and never, ever slack off. Someone must help me, teach me, and guide me through this crisis. And in big bold letters I wrote, "Help me." And it was like, wow, I remember that. I remember how I felt when I wrote that letter too. I was in a bad state. I was in a very bad state. And this is like my daughter and my son. When they send me cards, they always say how proud they are. I always write in there how proud they are, keep up the good work. But I couldn't bring them all, so I just brought two that were kind of close that was around the time of my son's wedding. First one was from, they had the practice. Dad, thank you so much for being with me on my wedding day. The past year has been amazing for our relationship. I'm so proud of the progress you made. You're a whole new person. I'm proud to call you my dad. So I didn't cry too much over that one, didn't I? Tears were flowing down my face, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Hard Guy. Okay? And there are two of them here. Well, I'll read the one from my daughter-in-law, then the next one from my son. My daughter-in-law said, "Thank you so much, not only for your gift, but your presence at our big day. It meant the world to us that you could be such a big part of our day. Not having a father myself, it warms my heart to see the relationship you and Justin have. Oh, sorry, I gave your name away. So much for anonymity. You're lucky to have you're lucky to have each other. Here's to many more years and memories. Then my son, my dear dad, thank you so much for making my wedding day unforgivable. We had no idea you were such a dancer. Thank you for the extreme generous gift. But most important, thank you for continuing to make yourself a better person in each passing day. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait for more Ozzy concerts together, however many there are left. Love you. Well, that was before and that was after. So those who are struggling, it can be done. You can do this. And you have people there who really want to help, who want to help. But you just have to, surrender yourself to the fact that this is what you need. There's very few people, and I mean very few people, who can get over this on their own. I maybe met one or two in my 4+ years of being sober, and most of them say, Larry, I had to do this, I had to do that. And that was the same for me too. It was keep yourself focused on what you have to do. It's almost like, when you're going through this work, it's like a horse. I always analyze it. You put the blinders on. You don't listen to anything on the outside. This is your recovery. You have to work at it. You're going to get people one end of the spectrum to the other. If you talk at a meeting or share, you might get somebody said, yeah, this is nice, but you should have talked about this, you should have done that. Or just the opposite where, oh, that's great, you're doing so well. That can influence you just as much as the negative stuff. So I would suggest that just, do what you have to do. Do what needs to be done. Sobriety don't come fast, but it comes in the end. And as time goes on, maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, you might start to, I started to see the things that were rewarding to me, the things that were happening to me, getting family, getting my brothers back in my life, getting my cousins back in my life, getting friends I haven't seen in a while back in my life. And that means so much to me. Then the car, then, get the license, because it's people in a relationship. And I love these people so much. And I felt I let them down. And I let myself down. But now it's at the point where, I feel good about myself now. I'm confident, but I'm not cocky, because I got cocky before, and I knew what that brought me. Brought me right back to the drink again. So I go to a lot of meetings. I go to 8 meetings a week minimum. Plus, I hit this show on a Friday night. Tuesday there's a parents group. I hit that too. And I just stay in service. I chair meetings. I talk at meetings. And I just keep it focused on what I have to do. Some people only need 3 or 4 meetings, but right now I feel I'll have to work at everything I do as far as keep my sobriety. And it's like a new lifestyle for me now. Instead of being bored and getting drunk sitting at home, I go out and I'll share, and it's good. And people I met there, and and it's funny too. You'd be surprised. You start getting sober, you start lightening up. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic. And let me see, there's one, and last, but
A lot of good posts. Francesca from Sicily wants to know what kind of moisturizer you use.
yeah,
Not.
yeah. Eau de Pew, it's made from skunk oil. Yeah, so, okay. This is like people, I ask you to, if you have the problem, work on it, and work on it, as soon as you can. Because the sooner you do it, the sooner the recovery comes. And this is a part of a couple lines from an Ozzy song. It's called "Life Won't Wait," and it really is about you're only on here for so long, so why not make the most of it? And it says, "Every day that you waste, you're falling faster. No sleight of hand, no twist of fate, no ever after. When it's gone, it's gone. A fight to the bitter end. Life won't wait for you. No, life won't wait for you, my friend." And the video, "Life Won't Wait," the video is fantastic. especially for those who are struggling. They can really pick up on that. And it is true, because you're only on here for so long. Just recently, I lost a friend of mine who I met in recovery, who I met in rehab, and he was 55 years old. But he was one of the best friends I ever had. And it's funny how in life, in recovery, one person introduces you to another, who you get friends with another, and it just expands and expands. But this guy, he had cancer once, got over it, and we used to go to meetings. He would pick me up, take me to the alumni meeting, and I met, one or two people that I'm really, really close with. And, that expanded. And the second time, he got cancer. It was terminal. He knew it, he told me, and it didn't stop him. He didn't feel sorry for himself. He just accepted for what it was. He says, I'm just happy that I got to meet all these people in my recovery. And I remember the first time I met him was in Livingston, and he had that lost look I had my first day there. So I was like the social butterfly. I had to talk to everybody. So I went over there and I introduced myself and all, and it didn't take long. We became Mr. Popular, so he didn't need me to talk about him. But eventually, when I got in the recovery house, I was there about a week, he showed up. And he wound up being my roommate. And that was the start of a hell of a bond there. And we were so opposite. His father was a preacher. He was like a very religious preacher, man. And, and his sons were becoming preachers. And me, well, we'll just say I was in a different direction. And but you'd be surprised how this opposite, that we just gelled and became the best of friends. I love that guy, man. I really did. And even joking and stuff, if something good would happen, he would say, that was God doing that. I said, no, it wasn't. It was a coincidence. Don't give me that God stuff. And back and forth, and nothing was sacred. I mean, and that was the best part. Nothing was sacred. And I miss the guy now, but it just shows you, you only have so much time here, and nobody knows how much time they have.
Nope.
So if you're trying to get through this, do it as quick as you can, and you're never, ever alone. Never alone in this. There are always somebody or some group of people who are out there who are willing to help you, willing to guide through this. And I'm starting to ramble, and I didn't move my hands too much tonight, which is pretty good.
And am I the only person singing "The Son of a Preacher Man" in the back of his head right now? I just can't get out of my head.
He might have been his son, but I was the son of a something. Yeah, I was son of something else, but we won't get into that. So.
Well, Larry, thank you for sharing your story, and especially touching on the recovery house, which is so important to the aftercare and the IOP and the GOP. And if nobody knows what an IOP is, that's an intensive outpatient program after you come out of rehab, and you step down to GOP, which is general outpatient recovery. And the after program is so important, I feel.
Rick Bright says, great job, Larry.
Oh, thank you, Rick. My sponsor. I'm going to interrupt here. That's one thing I forgot. Get a sponsor. He was the 99% of my recovery. When I first met him and talked to him, he worked where I worked, and we would talk, but I never thought he would be my sponsor. And, we would just talk. He never really pushed me. I mean, pushed me like some of these people I've seen do. And he gradually got me into the steps, and when he thought I was full of crap, he would call me out on it. And whether I was or wasn't, maybe I was and didn't even know it, but, he just kept going with me, and and he's 99% of my recovery. Got me through the steps.
That's awesome.
And talk. I call him, and still call him a lot. They say call your sponsor every day. Even he says once in a while, look, you don't have to call me every day, because he knows where my head is now. Whereas before, I didn't know where my head was, and he did a lot of good. Now he's out in California, and I'm here, but he's still my sponsor. And I give him a call, and sometimes we talk not even a minute. But how you doing? Okay, fine, everything fine, good, yeah, okay, good. And that's basically it. But I want to thank you, Rick, too. You were the big reason that I am where I am today. Thanks. Sorry I interrupted.
You're good. You're good. I like hearing all of that. I
Your show.
I love
My show.
everybody.
You
We got dancing bears.
Mr. Green Jeans.
Yes. And you got to meet me in your recovery.
Yeah.
You
that's-
know?
I got to meet
Doesn't get better than that.
all you beautiful people out there. I wonder if it's like an awards thing.
It's another
All you
song-
little
another
people
song
out
in my
there. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. I mean, you have to do the work.
Yes.
But like I said, I go these cliff notes here, and it was funny. Like I picked this letter up like a couple days before my 4-year anniversary, and I just picked it out of the bag. It was sealed and all, and I'm going like, "What the hell is this?" And oh my god, totally forgot about it.
That
But,
was God reminding you.
Yeah, well, somebody reminded me. Whoever it was, I thank you. I'm not going to argue who or whom it was, but thank you. But you know, and I get a lot of inspiration for like music. Like I said, there's
I see that.
Ozzy.
Listening to my Donna Summer album came out.
Yeah,
I see that on
yeah,
the thing there.
And there's one band called the Amity Affliction. They have a song. They have a video that's dynamite. It's called. The song is called "All Effed Up." But you might not like the music, but watch the video. You talk about it. You know, I saw me in that video. The drunken guy stumbling into the bar, out of the bar, then calling for help, and his friend doesn't answer it till he hears a preacher saying like, "Who's going to save you? Are you going to save your friend?" And his friend's ready to hang himself. And at the end of the video, it's like he's busting through the door, but you never know if he ever saves him or not. But it just shows me like the power of being addicted, looking for help, and maybe not getting it. So if you have a problem, please go out and get help. You know, like I said, you're not going to get it in a month or even in a year. If you do, you're one of the luckier ones.
So if
But
it's easy, we wouldn't have all this
Yeah.
problem with addiction. I mean, it works if you work
Yeah.
it, man.
Right.
it took me It took me a few years to get where I am now, and like I said, I feel really confident about myself. Sure, I'm an alcoholic. You know, the urge to drink comes once in a while, but
He drinks
it's a
water
lot,
now.
Yeah, but it's a lot different back then. I don't white knuckle it like I used to. And I don't want to ever see my daughter cry, have my son angry at me like I saw that first time. I don't ever see that again. So, and sometimes it's good to look in the past. It was like somebody said, look in the past, but don't stare. So, just, you know, people say you got to leave the past behind. Well, it's not that easy. I didn't think it was easy. I think it's nice to look back and learn the lessons as you came up. And look to the future one day at a time. And you know all these corny sayings that I thought were corny in the beginning, but one day leads to a week, leads to a month, year, 2 years, and everything starts to get better. If you just put the work into it. And
I think a lot of people think they're corny in the beginning, and then as you live it, you realize, you know what, there's really something to it.
yeah.
You don't know what, but there's something to
Yeah.
it, and it works.
There is. And,
know,
and
and
I
that's
used
the
to
truth.
always, you know, when I was going through, like, I went through it with my uncle. He was an alcoholic. And we used to, you know, tease and taunt him all the time. Like, oh, he just didn't get it the first couple times for him. Again, the law made him do what he needed to do. And he did it just to appease, you know, the ticket or whatever. And we used to like, oh yeah, one day at a time. Like, just, you know, it's
Yeah.
a cult. Like, what's that going to do for you? And until you really learn the program and you start talking to people and you start hearing these slogans, how amazing they become in your life. You can
Yeah.
hear those slogans and just use them in your everyday life. Whether you're dealing with somebody at the grocery store, whether you're dealing with somebody at home, whether you're dealing with someone at work, you can always find one of those slogans just to help bring you back to the reality of, you know, you can't control anybody around you.
Yeah.
You can't control, what's going to happen next. So you're always going to, guard yourself and finding these slogans. I know being on the parent side, the family side, the spouse side, we use the same slogans as those that are in recovery, whether it's for alcohol, whether it's for narcotics. We use the same slogans, and some people do the 12-step. I don't do the fellowship meetings, but I do follow the fellowship workbooks and readings, because I just find them to be important to get me grounded when I'm kind of like slipping back into the why is he wearing a hoodie? Why is the hood up? Like, probably because it's 20 degrees outside. It's not the 90 degrees that I'm used to, So, there's just different things that can trigger your emotions. And I find that just reading the Sesh book, that's the Daily Reader from Naranon. It's just stories of those that have been dealing with somebody that they love and their addiction. So how do you feel, Larry, with all of the new language they're coming up with?
What, doing the big book over and all that stuff?
Well, it's like you're not supposed to call them addicts anymore. Now they're supposed to be people with substance use disorder.
Or alcohol use disorder.
Well, that doesn't flow with me. You are what you are, I'm sorry,
Come on, it's a family show. Why not?
Like, we have to be so politically correct. Well, I was never politically correct, and I never will be politically correct. It is what it is, and that's what it is. But if you want a nice, flowery, saying for it, that's fine. But you might not get that from me.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And I know they're doing it so that people can look at it more towards the disease that it is than the
they're trying to delete the stigma that's attached to
like
the
you're a
disease
junkie.
of addiction.
Like you're a junkie, you're an alkie, that type of language.
You're a
that
loser.
change and all. And well,
But
if that makes people, if it gets people clean, I don't care what you call it. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Kathy, thank you, and Rick, I owe you everything. It's been a pleasure for me, not for you, for me. It's all about me. So,
and the most interesting part, Larry, your whole story with all the horrible things that happened, and I said it was you and only you that made that decision. You came to that epiphany and had that aha moment where I got to make a change. You got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And even people can suggest and kind of lean you in the direction on it, but the bottom line is so sad that you got to get to a point where you make that decision and only you can, and you just hopefully you can live long enough to get to that decision. That's the scary part for people.
Yeah. Well, I made up my mind earlier before I tried sobriety. I was going to drink till I died. I said I'm an alcoholic. Yes.
And I hear people so many times talk like that too. They say, "I'm never going to be able to stop heroin. I'm going to die of heroin. There's no fixing me." And like, and what do you say to them people? Well, it is, but only you can come to that moment of clarity where you realize you got to make a change.
And it's amazing because those people that are saying that also are people that are doing the program amazing. Like doing what they were given during their rehab, doing service. I know Larry's always doing service and always showing up when
Larry, the first
it's
one to
needed.
for anything.
Yeah, and Rick, you are so right. Recovery does rock. I love it. I think it's.
Yeah, he says that a lot to me. He said that a hell of a lot to me. Yeah.
Yes.
The words that resonate with you. Rock, baby, rock, Ozzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever it takes, whatever it takes for
And we're
you.
very musically oriented too, as you can see behind us there.
Well,
We love
you need
music.
some inspiration too. I mean, it's just not a whole business. Well, for me, it wasn't just a business thing too. I look at people like the Alice Coopers, the Ron Halfords of Judas Priest, and Ozzy and stuff like that. They're people, I listened to them for all these years, and especially Alice Cooper. He was a total mess. He's been clean since '83.
But you can see beyond that persona.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, so many people just look at them and go, I couldn't listen to that. I mean, they don't see nothing but that outlandish,
Get your inspiration wherever you can find it, believe me,
Yeah, whatever it takes. I know, even with my uncle, like looking at you, the way you have your notes and everything. I know when he went through the program, we would get in the car and there would be a prayer or a saying or, something from the AA book. Everywhere we looked, we went to go brush our teeth and there'd be another thing like, okay, it's a cult. You're joining this cult. And that's what it looks like to the people on the outside that aren't getting the education on addiction and recovery. And I know I was the judgmental one. I'll be the first to say it, and I've always said it on this show. I used to always look down on people and, losers and stuff because I didn't know better. I didn't have the education. But once it affects your home, then you need to get the education. You need to understand the disease. You need to understand what part you need to play in the recovery.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you can coddle them and be there for them and they get it. But more times than not, you have to step back. You have to give them their room to figure it out on their own. I think that is so important.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. You want to help, but how much do you help? And is too much too much? How much you can only really do so much. In the end, like me, the first time I didn't do any work, and what happened? I relapsed. So it depends on your want, your drive, your desire to want to stop, and know that this is going to not be a 2-week process.
Right.
Like I said, even after 2 years, people still looked at me crooked, and I wasn't, like I said, build that foundation. It's like Living Green. You go there, you kind of physically clean out, and they throw you some information here and there, and they basically give you that bag of concrete and say, well, here it is. Find a solid foundation and build your foundation, build your sobriety on that. That's what Rick told me too. He says, build it on mud and sand, it's going to fall over. And as you build it on nice solid rock, it's going to get bigger, and you make it bigger. This way, if something major, is rocking your life, you have that sobriety that's built, that's strong, that will help get you through the bad times, the bad situations. And it's just like, a strong tree. It's another Jethro Tull. It's a Jethro Tull thing now. Roots to branches. The roots got to be strong for the trunk to be strong, for the branches to be strong. But that's the same thing with sobriety. It's all about the strength of everything, the whole part, not just one or two things, everything.
Right.
Everything.
It is. It's so important. And I know we used to go out down to Kensington and help them out and try and talk them, coax them into recovery, make friends and, give them what they need without enabling them. But
without preaching to them. I mean, we didn't preach sobriety to them.
We just
kind of put a bug in their ear and gain their trust.
Yeah.
Because they're very untrusting. I mean,
of course, that's disease.
They knew that we were there when they were ready, and we could make things happen.
Right.
Help them get through some red tape or something.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important. Like, we're in the family group through Living Grin. And we go once a month. They bring in somebody that's in long-term recovery. And then they bring the patients that are, on their last few couple weeks, I think, before they leave. and they bring them in, the patients, and it's so nice to have that night, because you can hear somebody. A lot of times for the family side of it, we just see hopelessness. We don't see hope. We don't see recovery. I know for me, I saw so many friends die from heroin. So when it happens at home, you don't see that recovery, because I didn't see any recovery back then. So when it hits home, you're struggling because you don't see life after this. And once you get educated and you start hearing these stories from those that are in recovery and long term especially, you start to build that hopefulness and the strength to say tomorrow might be the day, tomorrow might be better. And be able to go in and listen to those that are still in the rehab and help them understand where their family is in their heads. And I would see people in there and they would be doing good. And, you know, a couple months later, maybe a year later, you see them back again. And it's like, what are you doing back? Like, you were doing so good.
Yeah.
I'm back because I stopped talking to my sponsor. I stopped reaching out to my support. I stopped working the program. I stopped doing service. And boom, they're back again. So I think it's really important for the family to, you know, be your cheerleader.
Yeah.
Once you are in that recovery. And it's not our place to say, listen, why aren't you going to meetings? Why aren't you doing IOP? Why aren't you doing, I mean, we need to stay on our side of the road. We need to stay in our lane and do our, you know, healing and keep gaining our strength as well as you. But we can't tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. That's totally up to you.
That's just counterproductive. I mean, that just make people push away more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard not to say, you know, I know when it was the beginning for us, we were like following to, you know, dropping them off to the meetings and, okay, we'll be back to pick you up, and then drive around the block and sit across the street and like, making sure they're not leaving, that they can't leave. Yeah. And like making yourself nuts. Like, why am I doing this? I'm just going to go home and I'm just going to go through the room and make sure there's nothing in there so that they can't use anything when they come back from the meeting if they're having a rough time. And it's just, you'll drive yourself crazy. So with the support that we've gotten through the family group, and I read everything now, I've learned to stay in my lane as much as I can. I work hard at it. I work very hard at it. And, you know, it's their journey, and I have my own journey to try and stay in that right lane. And that's what I do. I do service. I saw that I couldn't help those that were down there struggling, and I saw that some of that was teetering on the line of enabling. They're giving so much out down there. They don't have to worry about, you know, where they're going to eat, if they're going to get clothes. It's just so plentiful down there, right? Maybe not now because of the COVID and all that stuff. It's gotten a lot worse. But
when we left.
When we left. When we left.
Changed gears and started concentrating more on the parents and the family and we thought we could be more helpful there.
Right. And I saw I to this day, My loved one's 5+ years in recovery, doing the right thing. And for me, that's awesome. But I keep coming back because I remember day one. I remember how broke I was. And I stay with this because I know that there's parents out there, there's spouses out there, there's family members and friends out there struggling, not knowing what to do, where to go, or if there's even anybody out there.
Not knowing that there's hope.
No.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. And that's the hardest thing. And for the family side of it, I know so many people that are alone, that are peeking out the curtain because they don't want anybody knowing what's going on. The first people that are going to know are the neighbors.
Yeah.
They're going to see them sneaking out at night. They're going to hear the battling between the spouses.
And how long it takes you to park your car. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, what a genius move that was. Yeah.
Your mom is smart,
God
man.
forbid I should have drank and then park,
She
a
was
block
sharp.
away. Yeah.
Right.
But moms are moms, It doesn't matter how old I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, and that's why we do what we do. And with COVID, it's been a little crazy because you're not getting that personal touch. You're not getting that one-on-one. Hugging's very big in this community of recovery. So, the We program, because it's not something you can do on your own. You can't do recovery alone. A lot of recovery alone leads to more darker places. The isolation is causing a great deal of relapse today. It's causing a great deal of suicide. And it's important to get people to know that they're not alone. There's people out there that are willing to, reach out and talk to and help them through it. So, if anybody has any questions for Larry, you can always call in to us at 267-737-8031, or you can pop it into the comments. We are here.
Or if Rick has a good, funny story about Larry you'd like to share.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to donate,
So if you guys want to ask any questions, please call in.
Call
or
in, ask
comment.
Larry a question. I mean, he would love to answer questions for you, Larry. That's what he likes to do.
like some girls kiss on the first date. Okay.
There you go, anything.
Yeah, and one thing I want to bring up too is meetings. Like now with COVID, I got to go to a lot of meetings online. I met all kinds of different people from Australia, from England, from Canada, and not just the traditional meetings. There's like agnostic and secular AA too. So if you have a person out there who's not too gaudy or not into the God thing, there are other meetings too that God is not involved in it, but it's sobriety, and that's the main reason you're there. You're not there to get converted, get a nice little white collar or a big puffy
They just say a
nun's
higher
outfit.
power,
You're there to get sober. So I just got off a meeting 7:00. I go before this one every Friday, and it's oh my God, it's like our mostly agnostic group of drunks, and I go there, and it's a great meeting. Then I hit this one at 9, and I go to a traditional one Monday, Wednesday, Friday in person. And it's like the whole gamut of like ultra religious ones to like no God mentioned at all. And they're all there. You can go online and look them up. Toronto AA, agnostic, they have tons of meetings. Oh my God has like 400 some agnostic meetings, and there's traditional, not meetings, but sites you can go and look up, ohmygod.org. And so, whatever your taste is, there's something out there for you. There's a meeting out there.
Meetings?
Yeah, in Italy.
They talk about like gravy recipes.
Italy.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, in Italy.
It's like, hey, welcome to the show. I'm going to tell you how to stay sober.
There you go, baby. You know what? We could start a show, an Italian show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Larry, you can host
Yeah.
it.
But we don't fold our hands and say prayers. We go like this. Now, step one. You
like-
got to give up. You got to
Give up
surrender.
on wine.
You
Gotta
know
give
what I'm
up on
talking
wine.
about? You
It's
know,
a gravy. It's not sauce.
gravy, yeah.
That's a great.
Don't you say sauce. You dare say sauce.
Yeah.
Only the Metagons that say
Yeah.
the sauce.
See, recovery's fun, people.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is, and it's
It
not all
is.
doom and gloom. I always try.
Yeah,
We
so
try a little levity into the show there.
and I
Yeah.
like the Tuesday meetings with the other people because it gave me a perspective too of like, because I did most of this on my own. Cause I was out of the house. I was separated. My parents were dead, and I was pretty much on my own. And to get like the parents, the loved ones' perspective, were like eye opening for me. And if I helped them anyway, I'm more than happy. And like I said, the only story I can give you is mine. I
Right.
don't have any cure all magic potion thing about anybody else. All I know is me. And if
Right.
it helps, good. And if it doesn't, well, sorry. There's
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that, it takes some time to build those relationships back. I mean, trust is so hard to gain and so easily lost. And just working these programs really helps to build that trust back. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, and so many pages that I follow, the trust thing is probably the hardest thing that people go through because
Yeah.
the trust has been broken so badly.
And like we say, actions speak
And
louder
often.
than words, and people see your actions, and it speaks
Yeah.
volumes for you more than anything you could say. I mean, when you walking the walk, people notice that they really do.
And
Yeah.
people get scared when they have to make their amends. Like that
Sure.
is
I'm sorry.
that
Stuff's
is such a hard thing. I couldn't even begin to imagine what you go through when you get to that amends process, or dealing with your demons.
Yeah.
Kathy's
know.
out there, Kathy Lowe. Hi, Kathy.
It's the men's was tough. I went through the 12 steps twice, and the first time the men's are like frightening, and most of it went good. Some of it went horribly wrong. But you do what you can, and like I said, I'm talking everything positive, but it's not always positive. Look, I lost my marriage. This woman I put through hell. She tried everything under the sun to try to keep me sober, try to keep me, straight and narrow. And, yes, dear, and kept right on drinking. So she couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't take it anymore. And, that's me. It's not like, well, it's partially this and partially that's not partially anything. I take full responsibility for destroying that marriage. And, like I said, like you always said about unicorns and stuff. Well, I have another experience. It's not always tarantulas, snakes, and bats, but and unicorns. So it's not always good. So,
Right.
but you still, if you can get to do the tough things, I mean, you'll feel a lot better. Believe me, I felt a lot better. Not right away, because the things that went wrong or negative that you kind of knew were going to happen, but still I felt bad. I felt really bad, really guilty about what I'd done, how many people I let down, and the damage I caused. And to repair some of it, it was great, but I'll never repair all of it. It's just not
Right.
ever going to happen. And if I don't think it's going to happen in everybody or anybody
Right.
to 100%.
Right.
If
And
it
not-
does, yeah,
Yeah,
great.
and not every amends is going to be, accepted.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of repair because, people just don't get it. They don't understand the process. They don't understand, the disease of addiction.
Yeah.
So, you know, not everybody's going to get it, and hey, that's okay. They're not important. You know, the important ones stay. The important ones
Yeah.
take care and see, you know, the process and get to see what's going on and stand by you and build you up. I mean, that's the most awesome part.
And Bob, speaking up there, he says you brought your Aussie shirt and your A game.
Yes.
Like Rick says, talk about the respect you gain with your ex-wife and your children. Well, I went through that, but I'll go fast on it again. Well, my wife, it's done, it's over, and, you know, there's nothing I could do about it. And, you know, she didn't want me back, and I understand that. Then we got near the end to talk about reconciliation, but I was at the point now I said, no, it's done. It's done, and I can't do this. But as far as like I said, with my kids and their spouses too, I mean, I owe them a lot too, because they stuck with me. All four of them, they stuck with me. And like I said, in the beginning, as time wore on, we'd go out like for somebody's birthday or something, and you know, go out to dinner and all, or somebody's house. I'd pretty much take over like a meeting, and not meaning to, but tell them about what I've been going through, how things are going, and I get to the point of, look, I'll shut up. And my son a couple of times said, no, keep talking. I want to hear everything. I want to hear everything you have to say. And that was good. And I let him, you know, I told him what I was doing, how I felt, and it was great in time, you know. You seen the 2 letters he wrote.
Yeah.
That was his wedding a few years ago. I mean, you know, to get that love and respect back means more to me than anything.
Right.
You know, you
No
say, well,
doubt,
your
no
sobriety
doubt.
comes first. Well, I don't know about that. You know, because of my sobriety, I got this.
Right.
I got these 2 beautiful, well, 4 now in my life, back in my life. And cousins and my brothers and other people. And that means a lot to me. That, you know, I'm not by myself anymore.
No.
And like Rick helped me get me through that. When I went to recovery, you know, picked up that seed, that little seed that grew into that tree, and to recovery house, and just kept my mind focused. I mean, I could have given up, well, especially when I had no car, taking SEPTA, going to work, taking 3 vehicles, then go to IOP 3 times a week, not getting home to 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and have to get up 3:30 to catch the 4:20 bus. And, you know, I just did it, and I could have easily, and believe me, there were times where I said, yeah, I could easily not do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can easily just to hell with it. And, you know, and even like the money thing, I was making peanuts, you know, at this job I had. But I had a pension coming, and I had my Social Security. Thank God, or anybody else you want to thank, that, you know, I got these things after I started my sobriety. Because if I had gotten them while I was still drinking, I'd probably be dead by now.
Yep.
I would have the house, the bills would be paid, and the recycling bucket would be full of bottles and cans. And I would have nobody in my life, nobody would want to come near me. If I had a car, I doubt if I would have had a car, I probably would have wrecked it again and been in jail. So things fell into place very well for me. But I feel like, you know, I had something to do with it too.
Oh, no,
You-
definitely.
Oh, definitely.
You put the hard work in.
Yeah, I didn't roll the bones and say, come up sober.
Yeah.
You know? But
Yeah. I mean, you're doing the work, and that's what it takes. People don't understand that you can't just go through rehab and you're fixed. Like, this is a lifelong process.
It's a commitment. Like
Yeah.
It
commitment,
is.
no doubt.
rehab's like this much or nothing if you don't do anything afterwards.
Right. It's the afterwork that is the best
Yeah.
process, because you it's weird, but you do form a family outside of recovery,
Yeah.
out of rehab. You go and it's not just bowling anymore. Like,
No.
you know, it's not just diners anymore. There's so many options, and so many groups getting together and doing the coolest things in recovery. And not needing a drink to do it is
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
or drugs. I mean, it's, you know,
Like the
it's,
other week, we went to a kickball game with a bunch of people. They were having a blast. I don't know any of my friends that aren't in recovery that would ever go out and have a kickball game. And I thought they'd be like,
Without
I
a
don't think so.
kegger.
I'd rather
Yeah.
go to the bar and watch the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was the bowling thing, right after the alumni meeting.
right.
Oh, please, bowling, come on, you know. It's not like I really want to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And I did it a couple of times. I had fun.
Yeah.
Just let it go,
is.
you know.
Yeah.
You know, you're not that uppity up here that, you know, you need not to go bowling. Just go out, have some fun.
Yeah.
It might seem corny back then, but once
Yeah.
you get into it, didn't you like it when you were a kid? You know?
Yeah. And
Well,
The truth, people.
in my 60s, and I still had to do the bumper.
there you go.
Yeah.
And then you have the dances.
Dances, picnics. Yeah.
And the picnics. There's just so much to do outside of that, especially when you form that group of friends in the recovery houses.
Yeah.
A lot of that, the alumni just from the recovery house alone can take you to so many different places, kayaking, and they just do so much, fishing trips. It's
I see people having more fun in recovery than I do people that aren't in recovery. They lead less boring lives now when I compare the two with our other friends that are in recovery. Like, they really don't do anything.
yes, and the Ride for Recovery, which is coming up. You know, that's going to be an awesome day. And it's just a group of people in recovery just coming together and just enjoying a day and having fun with each other.
Just the feeling of this camaraderie. It's
Right.
It's awesome. It's like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it is so awesome. It's just a great feeling to be around people and doing things, and it's a shame because it's a little different this year. But we're going to bring it back better than anything. June 27th, yes. And we're going to make sure that, you know, it continues. And Live and Grin sponsors it, and it's an amazing day. It's an amazing day out. And hopefully next year it'll go back to the same where there's, you know, a picnic and things afterwards. That
And I hear Kathy's going to be doing a wheelie demonstration.
Yes.
She's
on a
gonna-
unicycle.
on a unicycle.
That's jealous.
I want to see that.
Sorry, Kathy. Yes.
But she will be wearing a helmet.
Yeah. And I'm really going to get my rear end tuned up when next time she
Yes.
sees me. I got your unicycle right
Yes.
here.
And then Live and Grin's also going to be doing the Back to Live and Grin Day. I believe it's going to be a little different again. However, the following year, I'm hopeful to see everything get back to the way it used to be, the way they used to do
Oh,
things,
God, let's
and
hope so. I
the
mean-
food and just fun, fun for the kids, fun for the families, and just getting together and enjoying life and remembering it.
Yeah.
You know, remembering the day. It's just so awesome. I know that I do help out a lot of organizations by, you know, just sharing information for them. It's important that we reach out to those organizations because, quite frankly, with COVID this year, they help a lot of people get into their first week of a recovery house. They help them get food for the recovery houses. They help them get into treatment. And they depend a great deal on us to get them the money to do that. We do not, this is not a fundraising site. This is not what we do. But there are so many organizations out there like just helping those that are are struggling to
We
get.
get the word out, and we help them with their fundraisers. We don't do it.
Yes.
We'll volunteer our services. I volunteer my DJ services to a lot of different
Yes.
organizations.
And
during the year.
I
And we're always
always,
there to help if we gotta help dish out food and all. But no, we help them raise their money. We don't raise the money for them, but
No.
we help them with any volunteering we can
Right.
do.
That I know. I've seen you around the block a few times.
We're like
Yeah.
dog crap. We're everywhere.
and this is not a nonprofit. This is just something I
We're
started
just some concerned
doing.
citizens.
I'm just
and
doing
parents
this
and
because I know where I was on day one when I found out my loved one was struggling. I know where I was. I
We're
know
very
how
fortunate.
I know how distraught I was. So I want to be here for the next family member, the next person that
Our engineer. He donates his studio so we can have this lovely
yes. So that's what I'm here for. That's to show that next person that there are others like us. There are people that are struggling, and there are people that need to get help and find the help
show. So I told you we're talking too much. You
that's
disconnected the
here.
mic now.
So, if everybody out there knows anybody that's struggling, please have them call us 267-737-8031. Even when the show is over, we're still available. I am, always watching to see if anybody needs help. I'm always here. And if you need to,
If she's not doing her calisthenics,
Yes.
she'll it's in the
so if you need help, please to reach out. You can text me, you can call me, you can send me a letter. Just ask for the help. And after the show is over, you can go on to Living Hopeful if you come up with anything that you want to ask Larry. He goes on the page sometimes, I believe, and he'll answer any questions that may be in there. And if I don't see him answering the questions, I'll send it to him directly and get the answers for you. We're not here to tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. We are here just to give you our, struggles, what we did to get us through it, what worked for us, what didn't work for us. What continues to work for us. So, with that, I just hope everybody has, a good life. That's all I'm here for, is to help you just get to where you need to be. Anything you want to add, Larry? We got.
Yes, well, I'm going to send something out to my cousin because he's a big Three Stooges fan, and so am I. So I'm going, this is for you. Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting. Okay. Okay, and for a transcript of this evening, send $25 in an unmarked manila envelope to. Okay. No, I just want to thank
Reverend Larry.
I want to thank you for letting me share, and I hope some people got a good message out of it. And
Definitely.
you're not alone here. You're definitely not alone. Whether you're the one with with the addiction or alcohol problem, or you're a parent or spouse of a loved one, there's always someone or somebody out there that could help you. Mm-hmm. You just got to stick out your hand. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
That's all you got to do.
We have 4 minutes left. So if you have to squeeze in a question, now's the time.
It's still time to call in, folks.
Or Larry will answer later when I send him the information that you're commenting in. Just keep reaching out. There's so many programs out there to, check out. If you don't like Nar-Anon or Al-Anon, there's, so many other different avenues. Just keep searching for that particular meeting that will help you.
Really shop around till you find a good fit. I mean,
Yeah.
don't
There
give
is
up.
something out
There's
there.
so many. Yep.
There
Right.
is something out there that's going to fit, what's right for you. You just have to do the footwork. Once you find it, you'll be so much happier that, you found this and no matter what side of the addiction, alcohol, thing you're on, you'll find it and you'll be a lot happier for it, believe me. When I found that it was great for me. I mean, absolutely great. I was face down, 4+ years ago, I was face down, hopeless. Didn't have a prayer at all, suicidal, didn't care. But now it's like, it's a totally different story now. So don't give up hope. Just keep coming back, keep doing the work, keep looking. It's out there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes. And on the 30th, we're going to have Deborah and her husband discussing her journey and his journey and the journey with their loved one as well.
Is that a picture of?
Who's that a picture of?
Yeah. It's Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Another
is
recovered rock and roller, yes.
The Prince
Yeah.
of Darkness.
Yeah.
She knows who it is. She's as old as me. She's acting like some young.
And this is Living Hopeful.
Actually, I think she's older than me.
No,
My
you're
sister-in-law.
You're the same. Actually, you're older than she is.
I just look
she's
very young. With
August.
this boyish figure is very deceiving.
Yes, on the wall.
On the wall.
On the wall. That is what's his name?
Uncle Jack.
Jack Nicholson. That is
The Shining.
The Shining. Richard's favorite
Here's
show.
Johnny.
And the collage happens to be Humanity Forsaken.
Yes, our engineer is a very big Shining fan.
Yes.
He got a tattoo with Uncle Jack on his arm.
Yes. He's awesome. Love
He's a
Jack
Shining
Nicholson.
buff. He could answer all kinds of
Yes.
trivia about it. On.
Yep. And so with that said, everybody, we're going to sign out here. I hope everybody has a safe and great week. We will be here next Friday. I'm not sure who the guest will be, but I will post it on the page. Just everybody be
And anybody
safe.
interested in being a host, being on the show, please give us a holler. We're always looking for intriguing stories.
And
Yes.
don't be afraid of the dark.
And don't be afraid of the dark. Fun things happen in the dark. So everybody have a safe Friday. Have a safe week. We'll be back next Friday from 9 to 10:30 Eastern Standard
Look at
Time.
that camera, Laura. Remember,
Peace.
everybody, recovery works if you work it.
Peace out,
Wake if you
everybody.
wake it.
meeting's over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do you now?